Hi there. My name is Kay Moon and I'm a twin flame channel and Western astrologer. And this is a video about the full moon in Virgo occurring on March 18th, 2022 at 3:17 a.m. If you happen to be on the eastern seaboard of the United States, please check a time zone converter for your local time. Welcome back to another lunation. A couple of announcements before we dive in. Number one, I just wanted to share that the comments on this channel will remain open. I ran an experiment during Shadow Work Week just to see how it would go. And the comments seem pretty clean, pretty clear, lots of positive vibe and positive energy flowing through them. So, and that's the way I really want to keep it. So if you would like to participate in chatting with people who are watching the content, you can do that in the comments below. While I won't have the ability to read and respond to all of them, just know that I am grateful for your participation and engagement on the channel. It always helps the content circulate. And that brings me to a big thank you for those of you who watched and participated in the Shadow Work Week videos. It was a lot of fun to make that series, and it provided so much insight in such a short period of time. If you were willing to listen to the content and take the advice provided by each of the guests, I think you'll find that there's a huge up level for you as we move through the Taurus Scorpio eclipse cycle. That South Node in Scorpio does represent all of us needing to do a bit of shadow work these next 2 years as we confront what we need to let go of and what we need to integrate in order to become truly whole. Okay. Speaking of shadow work, I will be hosting a free live class tomorrow just to kind of take it to the next level. This one will be astrologically based and it'll be just me. I'll be talking about utilizing your Chiron. Many people understand Chiron in the chart to be the symbol of the wounded healer. And I'm going to be talking about how to transcend the wound and become the healer in your life based on how Chiron is set up in your chart. So if you'd like to join me for that, I'll be here on the channel, 7 o'clock, Wednesday, March 19th. It will, or not March 19th, sorry, Wednesday, March 16th. It will be free. And you can check a time zone converter for your local time. All the details will be in the community section. And lastly, I just wanted to say the March calendar has just a couple more spots left. If you've wanted to talk to me this month, there are a few spots available for you to do so. You can either join me live or purchase and request a recording. If you'd like to do that, I'm super pumped to share that with you. If you are on the private list, you have already received an email from me with a special savings code for the March readings. So definitely check your spam for that if you missed it. And if you're not on the private list, you might want to get on it. I share all kinds of great additional astrological insights, free content, special deals with the private list, and the link to get on that is below this video. Let's get into the full moon and Virgo insights. We have the full moon here at the 27th degree of Virgo, opposite sun. That's what makes it a full moon. The sun illuminating the moon reflecting back the sun's energy. And this particular full moon comes with a trine to Pluto, whom you can't quite see there, but Pluto is hiding there, sitting with Juno in this particular chart representation. Although they are not sitting together in the sky at this time. Hallelujah. We have the energy of a trine to Pluto. We have a trine to the North Node here in Taurus for this particular new moon. And we have a square to Lilith, which makes it spicy, makes it interesting. We're going to talk about that. And we also have a opposition here from the moon to Neptune as well. So when you put all these energies together, there's a lot of things going on. Anytime we have that sun moon opposition, we're getting the opportunity to more deeply examine the last cycle and clean up things that we know we are ready to let go of and release. But what we have with the grand Earth trine, this Plutonian energy and the North Node. Pluto puts us in touch with our power, puts us in touch with our fears. The North Node puts us in touch with the direction we're meant to be traveling at this moment in time, the lesson we need to be learning and focused on at this moment in time. There's a real energy of power in the divine plan unfolding in our lives at this moment, and a real desire, almost urge from the soul to pursue whatever the divine plan is in our world at the third dimension, in the third dimensional way. This is about choices. It's also about boundaries. It's also about letting go and endings and completions, and being honest with ourselves about where our energy isn't aligned around certain things anymore. Being honest with ourselves about where our energy is aligned around certain things and making space to amplify those things in our world. There's an emotionally empowered energy to this where we get the opportunity with the sun and Pluto and moon kind of all speaking together harmoniously to some degree. We have this opportunity to live authentically and congruently aligned. This is really about getting our outsides to start matching what we can see as our truth on the inside. And so it's fun. It's a really wonderful energy because a lot of our motivation is amplified with this Pluto trine moon. It's a little bit of like finally harnessing the power of the things that we are concerned about, fearful of, worried about, harnessing the power caught up in those negative emotions to actually do something really positive in the third dimension. And we're certainly seeing a lot of this play out at this time on the world stage, where we have people coming together in aid of refugees from the Ukraine, people coming together to support and solidify support system structures and networks for these people who are moving through a crisis in their country. And we also have, interestingly enough, because Pluto also represents the things we'd rather not look at, rather not see, rather not have to talk about and discuss. As we move into this full moon in Virgo, there's also been an illumination of why and how we might be treating the crisis in Ukraine with this Russian invasion different than other refugee and humanitarian crises in other parts of the world. That conversation is certainly opening up for a lot of people and causing a lot of questioning and helping people really align to their values. That's North Node Taurus when it comes to loving and treating fairly and including and supporting all peoples of the human race. So, this illumination is starting to take hold in the collective energies. And you may notice it taking hold here on a micro level in your own world, where you're really starting to pay attention to what aspects of your outer world experience are not matching up with who you know yourself to have become after the last couple of years of growth, last cycle of eclipses. We closed out that Sag Gemini eclipse in December eclipse cycle and moved into the Taurus Scorpio eclipse cycle. So there is this opportunity to start making moves toward congruency and this internal power and motivation to be willing to look in some of the places we haven't really paid attention to make sure that that congruency unfolds here. So I really like this energy for all of us. There's a divine reconstruction going on with this energy to live a life congruent with our soul, if you will. And finding part of this will mean finding powerful strategic partners and allies for our businesses, for our creative endeavors, for our growth opportunities. This is the time to be hiring a coach. This is the time to be taking on a business mentor. This is the time to find strategic partnerships and with affiliates and affiliate organizations and companies to facilitate the growth of your business endeavors. So if you know yourself to be the kind of person who is actively putting something in the world at this time, you may notice that now's a great time to form win-win-win alliances where it's a win for you, it's a win for your partner, and it's a win for both of your customers. So great energy all around. And let's just see. It's also supportive changes. This can represent supportive changes to the power structures or the boundaries or structures of your family dynamics. This could be soul family as well. Especially if you are working with soul family in the third dimension in a really, like, let's say you all live together and work together, like at a yoga retreat or at some other sort of resort or something. When you've got that kind of thing going on and then you move into an energy like this, there can be really powerful conversations that unfold to realign the way the partnerships are structured to help facilitate forward movement and forward momentum between people. And so that the assistance here is really about recognizing where power may be imbalanced. I think by this point in time, given that we've just finished that Venus retrograde, moved out of shadow, Mercury retrograde, moved out of shadow, long done. There's now a clarity among teams and groups and families where, okay, I know what I need to do for things to move in the direction that feel aligned for me. I know what I need to do to facilitate outcomes that feel really good for me. So, a really good example of this. I've been talking to my private list lately about just some of the challenges that I grew up with in my family and my own Chiron wound. And this energy, like how far we have come in healing as a family, is so funny. I received a message from my father today. He said, "You know what, guys, I'm feeling a little disconnected. I would really like for us to start having monthly check-ins. Can we agree on a time where we can just get together as a family on Zoom to just, reconnect and be, connected as a family?" And I was like, 100% all for that. Yes, please, and thank you. That would be a new structure for us as a family. It would be a new way of allowing power to flow. Everyone gets an opportunity to share and learn, and not just on holidays, but kind of throughout the year. So it's an exciting time for the realignment of getting what you need in your soul group, in your families, in your teams as well. But by really recognizing whatever's in your shadow that's not working for you, and then stepping up to the plate to say, hey, here's the change I'd like to see in the structure of this so that I can feel like I'm getting my needs met. I can feel like I'm included at the table. And so, where you're guided to have those conversations, this full moon in Virgo is really helping to have each party approach the conversation from a place of faith, hope, and optimism. We'll talk about the aspects that indicate that momentarily. There are some shadow ways, unfortunately, that this energy could be used. I will prepare you so you know what to look out for in yourself and others. Should shadow energy be coming up, you can redirect it. But there's a lot more open hearted energy to this. And some of this is brought forward by this Neptunian component here, where Neptune's talking to the sun and to the moon. Neptune can represent our capacity to maintain the faith, maintain good faith effort, to assume good intention on other people's behalf. It also talks about having that ability to look through the eyes of zero make wrong when we're trying to understand other people and letting other people understand us, letting them in, being vulnerable. That Neptune component, used correctly in the light, gives us that chance to really build bridges and mend fences at this time. So I really like this energy a lot. The interchanges that you may experience with this full moon may be very subtle. There could be small decisions being made at this time that will have a very large impact in the months and years to come. These could also be habit changes, work changes in habits, health, your daily routine. Virgo represents the day to day routine of our lives. small changes with money and the way that you're dealing with and handling money. Pluto represents other people's money. Taurus, where the North Node sits, represents our earned income. There can be small changes in money as well that can have a cumulative impact as we move through this full moon in Virgo and in the fullness of time. So I love this energy. The only thing that I haven't hit on yet is the way this Lilith is impacting the works. I actually really like the Lilith energy for this. I know Lilith can get a really bad rep. She can really represent a lot of our abandonment wounds. She can also represent where we need to have things our own way, where we need to have things in a way that works for who we are. But the Lilith influence from the square to this particular new moon energy gives us a T square. We've got Sun, Moon, Lilith, which then forces us into Sagittarius energy to balance it out. T squares represent tension. You include the sign conspicuous in its omission, and what you get is, how do I solve for X? How do I solve the tension or the things that may not be flowing smoothly? The way we solve it is with Sagittarius energy. Sagittarius is about truth. It is about freedom. It's about living into our highest ideals for ourselves when we look at who we want to become, stepping up to the plate and taking action to be that version of ourselves. So the more we're able to lean into this energy, this very positive influence, we'll have the opportunity to create outcomes that actually last a long period of time, that give us the arc of our life flowing in the direction we really want it to, bending in the direction we really want it to, if we take good actions at this time and really confront some of the more difficult energies. Like I said, if you're struggling around this full moon, the March calendar is open. And if you've heard something that you resonate with, please subscribe. I'm here at each lunation to illuminate the path that you may be experiencing. I'm going to continue to try to get the videos out earlier, but if you hit the subscription button and the notification bell, early access to all the energy so you know what to expect and how to work with it will become available to you. Because like I said, there is some shadow energy here, and I want to prepare you for that, because that may be something that you see in the groups that I have just mentioned: family, business, team, soul family. And I want you to know what that might look like so that you can curve that. You can get around that. All right. So if you want to book some time, if you're struggling through this energy, like I said, March calendar's open. Book with me over at Moon Astro. We can have a conversation about how to unpack this. So the shadow energies that can show up include, with Neptune in the mix here, with the sun and the moon, this gives us two choices, right? It's all about free will. No planet is inherently bad or inherently good. We get the choice about how we want to operate the energy. Everyone who gets a tennis ball does not play tennis. Some people do some really wild things, and you want to know what to do as you get handed this energy. So the Neptune opposition and conjunct the sun to the moon, and the Plutonian energy here, we can be a little bit heads in the cloud. We can be a little bit ignoring of some of the uncomfortable truths. We can be a bit more willing to do a bit of a spiritual bypass at this time, whereby if we can move into a bit of like magical thinking, that if we can just law of attraction our way through this, or we can just manifest our way through this. And this really isn't one of those lunations. This lunation is going to require some, not just faith, but also action on our parts. And the influence here of Pluto, I like it because it's such a harmonious angle to the sun, to Neptune, and to the moon. It prevents us from being a little too heads in the cloud. Like, it's like I can see the writing on the wall, the difficulties about X, Y, and Z. And now I'm ready to get real about what it's going to take to climb a high mountain one step at a time. This is how we would use this in the light. But in the shadow, This energy can take us into some pretty large cognitive distortions where we overblow small things, overlook red flags. We kind of overblow positive things, and then we miss the opportunity to get grounded in reality. This can have us believing the absolute worst about ourselves and others because we're dragging the past into the present. It can have us believe the absolute best because we just don't want to look at any red flags that may be showing up at this time. It can also have us, like I said, miss certain details that might be right in front of our face because what we would rather lean into is our faith, but we're afraid to look, afraid to ask the appropriate questions at this time, afraid to reveal, afraid to be transparent at this time. Pluto can have that particular influence when we're using it in shadow, can have us operate from fear. So, astrology gives us a choice. We get the combination of power and a lack of clarity. Those two things are here, but we can use it to step into courage for our convictions. I have a girlfriend of mine, long-term girlfriend, who's always said to me, faith is a muscle. It is a verb. It is an action that you take. It is not a feeling that you have. Even when you don't see evidence, that you plan for the outcome anyway, and you act towards its existence. But the key is act. The key is ask. The key is communicate. The key is choose, not just, pray or visualize and then do nothing. The alternative energy here is we can get into that energy of power and a lack of clarity and allow fear and doubt to creep in. We have a ton of power, but a lack of certainty under that circumstance and a lack of clarity. And that can be used to do a couple of things. Unfortunately, I'm seeing people be a little bit forceful about wanting to declare certainty, declare clarity where there may not be any, maybe wanting to force circumstances because we're afraid to be in the energy of letting this unfold in its divine order, in divine timing, which Virgo certainly is all about: divine order, divine sequence, divine timing. But because it's not all happening now, we can get a little graspy, a little grippy, a little bit get into a lot of storytelling with Neptune in the mix here to try it, because we'd rather be with an uncomfortable fantasy and pretend like it's true than to live in an uncertain reality, because it can go either way and we don't have control just yet. So again, that would be the shadow use of this energy. The best way to work with this is going to be to utilize this to start thinking through, okay, where do I want my life to be more in alignment? Again, what do I need to let go of? What do I need to step up to? What do I need to share and reveal? How do I need to act in order for things to move in the direction of life alignment for me? So that's how to use this energy well. Where you're not seeing people use it well, what you may hear among your friends and family, what you may hear among other people is a lot of projection with Neptune in the mix. You may hear a lot of fault finding, blaming going on here. You may hear a lot of magical thinking, people not really prepared to deal with difficult realities and uncomfortable truths. You may see some people ignore red flags. And so, where you can in your mastery, where they're open to feedback, bring these things into the conversation. Don't ignore them, but bring them in a way that acknowledges that, I see we may not be exactly looking at this because we really want certain other things to be true. Yet it's important. I feel like it's important for us to acknowledge this red flag on the table, or my boundary here, or that thing that you said at the last meeting that was indicative of something that you wanted. We need to keep that in sight as we move forward. That would be a really good way to be a force for good with this energy. Let's talk about some of the other energies going on at this lunation. We've got this Chiron sextile Mars and Venus. So here is our friend Chiron. Here is Mars and Venus. I am loving the Mars Venus energy. It's been with us since the start of the year. It's this super passionate kind of motivation meets desire, meets willpower, kind of soul making things happen. I've always said that ambition is the place where our soul meets our ego and tells us how far we can go in this lifetime. Many people have the belief that ego is a bad thing, but it's not. Ego is the thing that keeps us fed, housed, clothed, and sheltered, right? Ego is the thing that facilitates our safety here on planet Earth. Ego is the thing that ensures that we can pay our bills on time. And so ego has a purpose. What's happening here is when ego meets the soul, what we get is ambition. What we get is the energy of that's where I want to go. That's where I see myself. That's what's possible for the future. And I know what I need to do to make it happen. I like seeing this in Aquarius. It was previously out here in Capricorn. Capricorn is old guard. Capricorn is new kid on the block. Sorry, Capricorn's old guard. Aquarius is new kid on the block. Aquarius is that quantum leap forward. It's technology. It's the energy of let's do a new thing. Let's get a new path going. I love seeing this because what Mars Venus does together when they come together is extraordinarily powerful. It's like all the power of Pluto without any of the fear. It's like a fearlessness energy to make things happen that we really want to experience. What's interesting about this, though, is that extreme motivation and passion is greeted from a sextile here from Chiron. Chiron is that energy of the wounded healer, so to speak. And it gives us the passion to heal and push ahead and become better people, not just for ourselves, but because of what it will mean for everyone we're connected to if we evolve, if we take that step, if we transcend our wounding. The Mars Venus conjunction shows us that what we want, we can have if we're willing to work for it. Especially, again, Aquarius is that collective energy when we're willing to work on it with other people, when we're willing to create collective harmony and not just look out for what we want ourselves. Healing and support becomes amplified when we're working in groups, when we're working with friends, when we're working on team. The gift of this transformative energy is in the power of friendships and communities through Aquarius and focusing on our collective good and our elevation for the greater good of all. There are a few triggers that may come up in the form of wounds being activated, particularly in collective energy with the Aquarius component here. And Chiron making that aspect to two very personal planets inside of Aquarius. This is the energy of the personal becoming political, the personal becoming collective. And for those of us who are quite sensitive, this may be a time where the collective like extreme energies, because Aquarius can be about extremes. You can find yourself riding these waves day in and day out of extreme hope, extreme defeat, extreme like we can do it, and then extreme sensation of nothing good, nothing positive can happen here. I have nothing to contribute. The extremes are what's available in collective consciousness. Aquarius represents our collective consciousness, and with these two very personal planets, Mars and Venus, moving through that collective consciousness energy, if you are not in discernment, which this full moon in Virgo gives us the opportunity to be, these energies can ride through you and take you for a ride instead of you being a node that projects healing, faith, optimism out into the collective, which you certainly have the capacity and ability to do. Okay. Especially if you're in this wounded energy from Chiron, if Chiron is triggering from what you're seeing out in the collective, on the news, on social media, in large groups of people, if what you're seeing out in the collective is triggering some of your personal and individual experiences and wounding. You might find this a very difficult lunation to move through. And so it's going to be really critical to be in discernment, Virgo full moon, what's mine and what belongs to the collective, and what can I work on within me because I am a part of the collective that's going to elevate the collective since I'm a part of it. Okay. We can, like I said, we can use this energy to our advantage to project healing, the healing we want others to have by becoming whole ourselves. This is really about accepting, celebrating, integrating some of our Aquarian energies as well, our weird, our quirky, the unusual parts of ourselves, right? Bringing these things home, bringing them out of the shadows, bringing our wounds home at this time is what's really going to help facilitate the healing that's needed in the collective energy at this time. Now, I've mentioned it before on the channel. Shadow work will be a large component of this year and next year because of that South Node moving through the sign of Scorpio. And so a few weeks ago, I hosted Shadow Work Week. It'll remain here on YouTube for free. And like I said at the start of this video, tomorrow I'm hosting a free 2-hour event called Transcend the Wound, Become the Healer, all about understanding your own individual Chiron energy in your chart so that you can move out of being lifetime triggered by these energies and instead move into lifetime leadership with your Chiron once you know what it is. Okay. Each person's chart and Chiron contains their personal blueprint for healing and ascension and integrating the wounds. Chiron will show you your personal path. It'll be at 7 o'clock Eastern, 11 o'clock Greenwich Mean. Over in the community section, you'll find all the details you need to show up for this 2-hour special. Like I said, it's free, so you might as well participate since the energy is so active at this time. And if you miss it, the recording will be available to you. You just need to head on over to my YouTube channel, take a look for the most recent live broadcast, and you'll find it there. Chiron's going to remain an active theme throughout 2022 into 2023 as Jupiter gets closer to it, especially in 2023. It's going to be a huge, huge impactful energy for people who are in divine counterpart situations because both of them are going to have to flow through and meet up with Chiron as we get into 2023, 2024. And so we want to understand this energy and how to work with it rather than having it work us. So now is a great time to start the process of that. As far as other aspects at this lunation, we have an energy of Mercury conjuncting Jupiter. There's our Mercury, there's our Jupiter. Here is Nessus behaving like glue. Nessus can be a little clingy, a little OCD. Nessus likes to hold on and ruminate about things. Mercury is our mind and consciousness. Jupiter is our capacity to have faith and expand. We put all this together. It provides this kind of overarching optimism and additional boost of faith that things are going to work out here in Pisces. We may not even really know how, but we have that internal sense collectively things can move in a good place from here. Again, it's going to be really easy to do a bit of a spiritual bypass on the issues of import and not do any work, or to miss some critical details thinking we can, like I said, manifest the law of attraction, positive think our way through the difficulties. But it's going to be really critical to note where action is needed to get the best results. Mercury sextile Uranus. Here's this Uranus and here's Mercury. There is a sextiling energy there. Sextiles are harmonious if we are willing to do the work. May well lend itself to a bit of that magical thinking, like I said, and hoping thoughts can become things. But the sextile energy gives us the outcome we want when we apply the effort to get the result. This is about making decisions to change our third dimension. As I said, once again, third dimension is Taurus, the earthly realms. Mercury is communication, thought forms, decision makings. We also have Uranus in Taurus square to Juno. Again, can't really see Juno in the way this chart's represented, but there is a square there. She's sitting at the 17th degree of Aquarius. It's a loose square. Thankfully, it's not a hard square. The hard square brought about some unusual surprises that we may not have seen coming a few weeks back. Now we've got the loose square. These surprises in relationship and changes that may be unexpected could be changes to relationship status. They can change almost overnight out of the blue with this energy. Some of you may have experienced that in the last couple of lunations, where it was a more active and exact square between the partnership asteroid and Uranus, the bringer of divine change. So if you're the one contemplating a relationship change, it's a really good time to just make sure that the changes you want are coming from a place of deep authenticity as opposed to a place of woundedness. Like I said, this Chiron energy can really have a lot of the collective wounded energy up and in our space without us even knowing that it's collective energy. It's not ours. It's a really good time to make sure that the changes you want are coming from that authentic place, especially if you mean to work things out long term and not just break up. But if you're uncomfortable, because you're uncomfortable today, I mean, if you if you've been clear about an ending for some time and you've just not been saying anything about it, this is when you might find that the words just spill out. This is when you might find that you just, I don't know, it just like something rushes over you and you just need to be the truth at this Virgo full moon, or somebody is that with you. So if you have that happen, just know that because Uranus is the energy that's really activating some of this, and Chiron is too, know that whatever changes are getting made, if it's a separation, it actually may be the kind of thing that, again, like I said earlier, zero make wrong. It's for your benefit. It's for your good. It's the kind of thing that ultimately will serve in the long run, even if the separation hurts a little bit right now. It's just important to make sure with this Mars Venus energy that it is not rash, it is not impulsive, that you're distinguishing between, not having the skills to contain, build a good container for your love versus there's just not enough love here to make something real work. Okay, great. That's a good distinction. Moving forward, there can also be about faces in relationship on the opposite end as well. Again, extremist energy. Aquarius can represent that. We've got Juno in Aquarius, ruling planet of Aquarius, Uranus being the activating energy for her. This could also be where if you were just kind of or casually dating someone, this is when you might suddenly go from casual to committed. But again, just make sure it's coming from that authentic and congruent place as opposed to from a place of being wounded or triggered or just throwing up your hands like, F it, I'll just do this. That might not go so well in the long term if you're overlooking red flags and not dealing with your triggers directly from a place of, positive inclusion and wholeness with yourself. If you've heard something that resonates for you and you want to take a look at this energy in your own world, I highly recommend a personal reading. You can book with me over at K-Moon Astro. If you're not ready to do that, no big deal. You can always subscribe to the channel. I'll be here at the new and the full moon, illuminating how you can utilize these energies. And I look forward to seeing you on the Wednesday, March 16th live broadcast of How to Transcend the Wound and Become the Healer, where we'll take a deep dive into how to work with Chiron in your chart. So thrilled to share this with you. If you happen to miss the live broadcast, don't worry, the recording will be there on YouTube so that you can re-listen anytime you're ready. My pleasure to work with you. I look forward to seeing you either here on YouTube or in session. Take great care. Bye for now.